welcome to Season 4, Episode 10 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in Lucha Underground history with match number 41 on our list, which is the three-way to the grave match between Muertes, Fenix, and Jeremiah Crane from the June 27th, 2018 edition of Lucha Underground entitled Rest in Pieces. So we've talked a little bit about it in previous episodes, specifically the episode detailing the match between Puma and Muertes. The three-way to the grave match is essentially the grave consequences match that Lucha Underground does, which was a signature gimmick that they would do in every season. It's essentially a casket match. This one, three-way to the grave, of course, because it's a three-way dance. So elimination rules, multiple caskets at ringside, last man standing, not in a casket is the winner, obviously. So here's the thing. So, we're now 10 episodes into this season, and I talked about it in the introduction for this season that Lucha Underground, I feel, really kind of fizzled out at season, with season 4. But if you've been paying attention to the episodes, Season 4 has had more matches so far in these early episodes than any. And that's not to say that it doesn't have quality, because there were some sporadic matches there that were very, very good, and we still have a couple more to go on this countdown. But the best matches are ultimately at the lower end of our top 50, and even though there's good matches, everything kind of throughout, was a little bit lackluster compared to the other seasons. So, I love the Grave Consequences match. The original one between Fenix and Muertes is amazing. So, seeing these two do it again, you add in Jeremiah Crane, played by Sami Callihan, into the mix for a neat little wrinkle. It was something to be excited about. And so this was the third episode of Season 4 of Lucha Underground. And I remember at the time kind of being conflicted with this match because it's really, really great. It's super fun. It's bloody, it's brutal. It's got a crazy pace early on. It's, everything that I would like in a wild brawl like this match, but it couldn't help but feel a little hollow at the time. It felt really thrown together. I was kind of annoyed that they burned through Aztec Warfare on the first episode of Season 4, when ultimately it didn't hold a candle to the previous three. So I was a little apprehensive that they were giving away Grave Consequences on the third episode, without much build to it. But I tried to keep my hopes somewhat optimistic for it, and this match, it really does deliver. So our story with how we get here. So basically it revolves around Katrina, who is the manager of Muertes, played by Carly Perez. I'll just give a quick mention that her outfit in this match is ridiculous. Shout out Chandler Biggins, rest in peace. But so her story is that she's essentially stuck between two realms. She's dead, but she has, the ability to live forever. But that's kind of sort of started to go away from her. So she needs the life force of another individual to bring her back fully. Aztec Warfare, Muertes entered late in the match, very quickly put away by Fenix. They have that old grudge. Katrina and Fenix have, a tumultuous relationship themselves. They were kind of an item in Season 1 before she ultimately turned on him to side with Mil. Using that first Grave Consequences match to resurrect Muertes. So essentially she tells Mil, you're going to get your revenge on Fenix by stuffing him into a casket, which in the Lucha Underground universe means you're dead, and that she would be able to then take Fenix's life force to bring her back to life, which is what she's looking for. Jeremiah Crane inserts himself in this. So basically he was brought in Season 3 as the love interest of Eva Lise, basically her boyfriend, kind of ex-boyfriend, scuzz bucket type of guy. He developed eyes for Katrina, and the whole time has been trying to get with her, and it led to a feud between Eva Lise and Katrina. We saw him and Mil square off in a three-way at Ultima Lucha Tres for the Gauntlet of the Gods, along with Brian Cage. So here, Jeremiah Crane is once again trying to, prove his love and prove his value to Katrina, because he would win Grave Consequences, the three-way to the grave, and essentially be the one that brings her back to life. This match, like I said, crazy pace from the get-go. This is a wild, out-of-control brawl, and the first sequence of the match before the first elimination is up there with some of the best stuff that Lucha Underground has ever produced. It's great. It's wild. I'll be remiss if I don't mention, there's a weird kind of like yellowish hue to the lighting for this match, which is kind of weird. That's something we saw a little bit of in Season 4 of Lucha Underground. I think they were maybe just trying to get the lighting right at the new temple. I don't know, but it is a little distracting. But, you know, if you can get past that, I mean, the match is certainly worth watching. That's why it's on this list. We get dives right away. Sammy hits the low pay. Fenix hits an Orihara moonsault. Muertes, who's not much of a diver, hits a big dive from the top as well. And just, it escalates really quickly, and it's Mill that brings that violence. He smashes Jeremiah Creighton's head off the casket, power bombs him on it. He choke slams Sami Callihan on the casket as well. Fenix, not to be outdone, hits just a wild, like, Hurricane Rana, where he walks along the elevated guardrail that holds, you know, the Lucha Underground believers, the fans back, and dives off that into a run on Mill. Mill is kind of just dominating though, and he goes for a double flatliner. So the flatliner is his finishing maneuver. He used the double flatliner to beat Prince Puma and Pentagon Dark in a three-way match to retain his title. One of the better Lucha Underground matches. And also, you know, it showed that he could defeat the two faces of the company at that point, right, with one move. So he goes for it here. Sammy and Fenix are, you know, are smart enough to block it and then realize that teaming together is going to be their best option. So Fenix hits like a crazy Rana where he, you know, leaps off of Jeremiah Crane's back and hits it. Jeremiah hits a powerbomb on Mill through a table, you know, leaned up against the guardrails. So, you know, they take Mill out and they decide to focus on each other. We get a brawl up into the bleachers. Jeremiah Crane hits a pile driver on Fenix in the crowd on the bleachers, which was crazy. We get a great visual moment where the frozen storage, you know, compartment, the refrigerator area where all the beer's kept in the new temple, kind of opens up, and Mil Muertes walks out of it looking all menacing and proceeds to just beat the tar out of Sami Callihan. He throws both of them, you know, down the bleacher stairs, and they both take like the Tommy Dreamer tumbles all the way down the bleachers. He tries to throw Sami Callihan over a rail off an elevated platform, and Fenix proceeds to then dive off an even higher platform onto the two of them, which is crazy. We get just a really cool spot here where there's a table in the ring, and Fenix is going for a Hurricane Rana on Mil Muertes. Jeremiah Crane breaks that up. Mil kind of tumbles to the floor where there's another table waiting, and he kind of, you know, rests his body up against the table. And he then proceeds to push Fenix off the top rope into a splash on the floor on top of Mil. It was crazy. It was unexpected. It was wild. It looked great. I love spots that, you know, kind of come out of nowhere like that they aren't, you know, even though at its core it's a little contrived, it doesn't come across that way. It comes across organic, and that's what this move was. It was awesome. And then he proceeds to give Fenix a pile driver off the second rope, leaping backward through a table in the ring. Just crazy stuff. And this match, it never slowed down or stopped up until that point. But then where it does take a little bit of a dip, we get some, you know, kind of drama where Jeremiah Crane goes to eliminate Fenix. Eva Lise, his ex-girlfriend, comes out, hits Jeremiah Crane with a hammer, which is something that he had done to her in the previous season, busts him open. She puts him in the casket, closes the lid, and that's enough for the elimination. Because it's grave consequences, we get, you know, the Day of the Dead skeleton people that come and take Jeremiah's casket away. So that was all very cool. But it was like this weird kind of little middle slowdown period where the match shifted. And everything, you know, after that, while still good, didn't live up to the, you know, the frantic pace that they had established up until then. That go, you know, spot, crazy mayhem kind of feel that they had given to the match. So when all is said and done, though, we're left with Fenix and Mil, the OGs that made, you know, put grave consequences on the map. And this is what's hard, because everything they do is really good, but it kind of feels just like a tribute to the first match, like almost like that greatest hits. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. And if you're watching these matches in order, not having seen that, watching these matches in order of how they appear on my countdown, not chronological order, you wouldn't have seen the original Grave Consequences yet, so this would have felt a little bit more fresh. But watching it, especially in the context at the time it's season 4, it was kind of like, they burnt through Aztec Warfare, now we're burning through Grave Consequences 3 episodes in, and now I've kind of seen this. But they do some good stuff. We get blood, we get mask ripping, but it's all, kind of very quick as they're coming into their finish. Mill brings the casket in the ring again. He goes for a spear in the corner that he misses, and he hits the casket. Fenix drop kicks him into it. Can't get the lid closed, kind of goes for a running charge and eats an overhead belly to belly in the casket, which is leaned in the corner, which looked amazing, but that's a spot straight out of their initial match, so again, that little bit of a tribute. Fenix goes for a double stomp on the casket, which he misses. He gets choke slammed on it, but manages to fight back a little bit. But then our finish just kind of feels out of nowhere, where basically he springboards in, gets caught with the flatliner from Mill, and thrown into the casket for the finish. Nothing really wrong with it. The flatliner had been built up and established as, it's an instant death move in Lucha Underground, so I get it, but it just felt like this match, after all the craziness for the first, 10, 12 minutes, it really needed a bit more juice for the finish, and it just kind of ended a little bit flat. So that would, be Fenix's death in the Lucha Underground world. Katrina would use his life force to bring herself back to life. But this would ultimately all come to a head where Muertes, believe it or not, would end up killing Katrina by dropping her off a building. And then Aerostar, who is a time-traveling spaceman in the Lucha Underground universe, he would use 2 parts of an amulet necklace, one that Katrina had and one that Katrina's mother, who was an officer, in all of the storylines that were going on at the time. He would use those, put them together to bring Fenix back from the dead, but in doing so, him giving up his life force for Katrina, even though he's brought back from the dead, very much like a Pet Cemetery-esque, he has that evil side to him, and, Fenix would go on to be a heel for the rest of this season. So, intriguing stuff that came out of it, crazy, hokey, over the top, exactly what you would expect from Lucha Underground story-wise. But this match is an awesome ride. Like I said, the first half, outpunches the second half. But if this is, this second Grave Consequences match you've seen, if you're following on the countdown, this one should blow you away. Lucha Underground might be available on the Tubi app, depending on where you live, but you can certainly Google it and find these episodes without much trouble online. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you don't miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.